Why cabbage? We are going to talk about production, but why cabbage production? Cabbage is one of the most profitable crop that we have in Ghana here. It's one of the vegetables that we highly consume in Ghana here. And it's one of the profitable business to venture into. Good. Why cabbage? You know, cabbage production is a very huge thing to talk about. But where are we starting it from? We want to give you the gist of how to make a successful cabbage farm. Do you know you can earn about 50,000 to 100,000 Ghana cedis from an acre of cabbage? Do you know that? Or you don't know? Then let me give you the gist. The secret, I have to tell you, but you can only get this from Iliaso Farms. But make sure you click on the subscription button. Don't forget. Like, comment, and then you share the video. You know, a whole production of cabbage starts from the land. Every production begins from the land. So one, the land availability is the key. So you have to check on the land to get the suitable site or the suitable land for the production. You know, soil that works well for cabbage is sandy loam or loamy soil is good for cabbage production, an amount of clay. So you can get sandy clayed or clayed loamy soil. It's okay for the production. There should be an amount of water holding capacity and also good drainage access of water. Good. So when we talk about the cabbage production starting from the land, that's one factor. Getting the land, you clear the land. After clearing the land, you have to make sure that you get a suitable variety, the preferred variety, the preference, the one that the market or the buyers prefer, the consumers also prefer. We have a lot of cabbage variety at the market, but you have to go for the one which is most preferable. Some other varieties that we know is Oxlos F1, we have the Shiny F1, we have the Fortune, we have the Green Boy, and a whole lot of varieties. So you have to check a variety in which the consumers prefer at your area or your location. Now, after getting the variety, the next step to follow is to have your seed nest. Now, to nest the seed, you have to construct a bed of length 12 feet length by 4 feet breadth. So you have the length should be the 12 feet, and then the length, the breadth should be the 4. The length 12, breadth 4. Once you have constructed the bed, you have to raise the bed at least 15 centimeters from the ground. Once you have raised the bed, you have to make sure you take off debris or any stones, sticks from the bed, making sure that the bed is well dressed for the seed to be spread on. After you have completed dressing the bed, what you have to do is to create a draw lines within the bed. Cabbage shouldn't be broadcasted. The reason why we don't broadcast cabbage is that to avoid diseases from damaging the whole seedlings. So to safeguard the seedlings from diseases, you have to do it in a draw lines. So you create a line within the bed which should be 10 centimeters to 15 centimeters within, between or within the line by line. Good. So once you have created the draw lines, we have the bed here. You have one draw line here, one draw line here, one draw line here. So you have the draw lines here like this. Then you spread in the seed. Once you are spreading in the seed shouldn't be too much at a certain point. That will be competing for a nutrient. Once you drop the seed at certain end, which makes it too much, it doesn't allow the seedlings to grow faster and also have a healthy stems. So you need to space out the seedlings. Once you are dropping in the seeds, you have to space out so that once the seed germinates, each seedling has a stand or a space to have its own stand, which won't compete for nutrients and other stuffs. Good. Overcrowding seedlings can lead to a whole lot of diseases. So you have to avoid overcrowded seedlings. That is why you have to space out the seeds once you are spreading. Good. After the spreading of the seed, there should be a solution. that you have to water the seeds before you cover it. You shouldn't have to spread the seed only and then leave the seed like that. Then you are destroying the whole thing. So once you spread in the seed, make sure that you have a solution that you water it with that solution before you cover it with the soil. Now, let's go this way. You have to go and get insecticide. It could be imidacloprid, it could be acetamiprid, it could be lambda, or it could be emamectin benzoate. That's the active ingredient. Once you have that, either you have emamectin benzoate, you have to measure a recommended rate, like 10 ml into 11-liter watering can. And then you add a copper-based fungicide which prevents the seedlings from attracting fungus. It's a fungicide, so it prevents the seed from attracting fungus. Good. So once you box that together with the redomil, it could be the redomil, metallazole. It's an active ingredient. It's copper-based fungicide, metallazole. So once you have that one, you use half sachet of that fungicide. It is 50 grams. So you use half of it. That's 25 grams into the 11-liter watering can. Then you measure 10 ml of the insecticide into it. You fill it with water, then you spread it on the seeds. This helps prevent the seed from eaten by insects and also prevent the seeds from attracting fungus. So once you are done with that, then you get your fine soil to cover the seeds. You have to slightly cover the seed. You don't have to deeply cover it. Slightly covered. Once you cover it, make sure that you get a palm front or a mulch to cover on top of the bed to avoid excessive sunlight hitting the seedlings. So you have to cover the seed bed so that it can keep the moisture content for easy germination. Once you are done with your seeds or your seedling, you have to leave it for 4 to 5 days for its germination. So within 4 days or 5 days, you have to open the seedlings. Take off the mulch and then you give the seedlings a shade, a light shade at that day. The reason why you give it a shade at that time is to avoid direct sunlight hitting the seedlings, because at that time it hasn't taken a root yet. So you have to prevent it from excessive sunlight from damaging the seedlings. Cabbage seedlings take almost a month. It's within 3 weeks to 1 month for transplanting. So approximately 1 month, you have to transplant the seedlings. At that time, you have to make sure that your land is ready for transplanting by taking off the grasses, the weeds from the land, making sure if you want to till the land, you can till the land to make the land or the soil loose for easy transplanting. Make sure that your soil is wet for transplanting. Make sure there's a moisture content within the soil before you transplant. Transplanting cabbage should be done early in the morning or late in the evening. You don't have to transplant it heat hour of the day to avoid burning. Good. So once you transplant your cabbage, 2 weeks after the transplanting, you have to apply the first fertilizer application. 2 weeks after transplanting, you have to apply your first fertilizer application. Good. Fertilizer application should be done when there is no weeds around the cabbage plant. But if there is a weeds around the cabbage plant, then you need to have your hole. Once you have this hole, make sure that you take off the weeds from the 2 weeks transplanted cabbage before you apply your fertilizer. So this is how you are going to do it. Once you are weeding, then you are tilling for the cabbage to easily grow faster. This is one of the major importance or the major key factor which really helps the cabbage once you are doing the tilling. The more you do the tilling, the more it boosts its growth. Because once you till the soil, it helps easy air pass. That's the pore space. You also create a pore space for the soil. You create the pore space within the soil, so it makes air easy blow through the soil, so which makes it easy for the cabbage to grow faster. So you do it this way, as you are seeing. Then you are taking off the weeds within the 2 weeks transplanted seedlings. Once you are doing it this way, then you are preparing the cabbage for fertilizer application. But in a situation or in a circumstance where you have no weeds or you are weed free, then you can go ahead with your fertilizer application. When you have weeds free, you can go ahead with your fertilizer application. Once you are done with the fertilizer application in 2 weeks, then you also have to begin with your insecticide. The insecticide even starts from the week after the transplanting, where you have to be giving it an insecticide to prevent it from cutting or eating down by crickets. Normally, crickets normally worry the plant by cutting the younger seedlings that you have transplanted down. Yes, so you have to protect it from this cricket. You can use ivermectin benzoate or imidacloprid to fight against that insect. Once you are done from within the 2 weeks, you can start after the fertilizer application. You can start with your insecticide application to avoid eating by any pest. Good. Once you are done, each following 2 weeks later, you have to apply your second fertilizer. The measurement for the fertilizer, you have to use the 4 kg of fertilizer, the 4 kg bucket, a bucket like that have 4 kg weight or 4-liter weight. You can use that bucket. There's a paint rubber, blue paint rubber. Yes, you can use that for the fertilizer application measurement. With your first fertilizer application, you can measure about 4 of that paint rubber, because cabbage is a nitrogenous plant. It requires a lot of nitrogen for its growth. So preferable fertilizer that you can use, normally you can use 25, 10, 10 or 24 or 23. The nitrogen should be more. The nitrogen should be more than the phosphorus and the potassium, because the cabbage is a living vegetable which requires high nitrogen. So whilst you are giving the base fertilizer, then you are giving the foliar fertilizer at the same time. So once you are doing application, insecticide, fungicide, and foliar fertilizer application too on the leaves, to make it easy for the cabbage to do the intake of the fertilizer, whilst you have the base one to apply it. So the first fertilizer should be 2 weeks, the second fertilizer should be 2 weeks, the third fertilizer too should be 2 weeks. You give it 3 times of fertilizer. The third one will come from when the head is folding, when it is having the head fold. That is where you are going to apply your third fertilizer application. So this is how you are going to tackle the cabbage. So with the first fertilizer, you can measure the 4 liters bucket of fertilizer for 4 of it, that 4 liters bucket, the paint rubber blue one. You can use 4 of it, and then ammonia 1 of it, because ammonia is full of nitrogen only. Yes, 21% of nitrogen ammonia. So you add it, then you apply. Your second fertilizer, use 3 of that granular and then 1 of the ammonia. Then you do it for the second fertilizer. The third fertilizer, you use no ammonia. You use only 3 or 2 of that paint rubber or fertilizer, the NPK only, no ammonia included. Good. Once you are done with it, the rest is your cultural practices. Taking off the weeds, protecting by applying your insecticides. The insecticide, there should be an insecticide that will fight against the worms, the white flies, because cabbage is being worried by white flies. So here you have to protect the plant from white flies. You have to protect the plant from white flies. So as you can see, approximately by 3 months, you are harvesting your cabbage. By 3 months, you are harvesting your cabbage. So this will be the cultural practices that you'll be doing: the tilling, the weeding, and then the fertilizer application, the spraying, and the rest. So once you have this, you are good to go. Your plant will be healthy for you to get a successful result. So this is how cabbage production is done. And you make sure that you use a recommended insecticide and then the fungicide to treat your plant. Now, to have an insecticide, we have key insecticide that will help your cabbage plant, because the cabbage has a resistant insect which normally resists to certain kind of insecticide that we use. So now I recommend imamectin benzoate as one of the insecticide that you can use whilst you are doing your application. Imidacloprid is also one of the key factor. So you can have a mixture of two active ingredients, different active ingredients, which is imamectin benzoate and imidacloprid, or imamectin benzoate and acetamiprid together, and apply it on the plant. The application for your cabbage should be 4 days or 5 days intervals of applying insecticides, because cabbage are prone to insect. The insect likes cabbage very much. So if you are not considering your application very well, you end up losing the entire plant. In as much as like certain places, a certain place where we cultivate huge cabbage, normally prone to insect, because this person is doing cabbage, this person is doing cabbage. So there's a transfer of insects from certain field to your field. So if you are not continuously doing application, you end up losing your entire hot plant. So you have to make sure that you frequently use your cabbage, because you may be doing application today, the next day the person too will not do the application. If it is very important, both of that farm neighbors should do the same application at that same day. But one will avoid application, the other will do application. So once you do the application, the insect will move. The application doesn't mean that you have killed the insect. Sometimes the application, the chemical drives the insect from the field because of its smell. It drives off the insect. So normally, when it drives them to the neighbor farm, and when the neighbor too did the application, the insect too comes back to your farm. So if you also refuse to do insecticide application within the next 4 days, then you also lose all the plant, because the animals will still be in the insect will still be on your cabbage. So there should be there should be understanding between you both there. You two, you understand? So that once you are doing the application today, the other party too can do the application today, to avoid the insect from moving to one place to another, which is making the work become tedious. So we have to consider that factors. So making sure that your insecticide application will be used imamectin benzoate, imidacloprid, acetamiprid, and then when you are using a fungicide, it should be sulfur, and also mancozeb is also recommended. But sometimes we normally use the sulfur, and sometimes we also use the other fungicide like flower ball fungicide, something like top cop, which is also good for the cabbage, to avoid fungicides, fungus. Yes. Welcome to Eliaso Farms once again. If you have any question, you can drop it, because I may not be able to spit out all the questions or all the info that you may need. So if you have any question, you can drop it at the comment section, and then we're gonna reply you. Always make sure you subscribe to Eliaso Farms. Make sure you like the video, you share, you comment, and then you also tell another friend to join and comment. Thank you very much for your time.